and I'm going to take you through our module for law of persons for this first semester. As Adele said, we're going to concentrate more on the skill. So if there's any questions, don't hesitate to ask me or to raise your hands, and then we'll take it from there. Before we start, are there any questions? I'll take 2 questions before we start. Any questions before we start? So if there's no questions, we're going to continue with the law of persons. And what I can say about this module is that the module is very technical. Many of the legal principles, many of the aspects of the law of this module is contained in the common law. So we're going to deal extensively with common law principles. Many of the legal principles of this module is contained in case law. Okay, so I am going to refer to many cases, so it's going to be imperative that when you join the session, you need to be prepared. You need to have done prior reading, but before we end the session today, I will indicate to you which study units to prepare for next week. Okay, so if I don't see any hands, I am going to start. So I see Terence's hand is up. Terence, you can unmute your mic and ask me the question.
Hi, uh, Mr. Clarence. Just want to ask you, the case studies that you're going to refer to, are they going to be in the study guide or also in the South African Law of Persons book by Jacqueline Heaton?
Thank you for the question, Terence. Most of the case law I will be referring to will be in the study guide, and it will be in the Heaton case book. So, yes. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, students, let's continue then. So, as I said, the subject is very technical, and when I refer to it being technical, I mean that many of the legal principles are contained in the definitions. So it's going to be important for you to know definitions, to be able to break down the definitions, and to be able to interpret the definition. But as we go through the study material, I will make certain examples for you. Okay? So I want us, if you have the study guide with you, I'm going to guide you to the following page, and then we can start. My next request is, before we start, my next request is that if this time slot, and I'm going to communicate this to Adele, if this time slot is fine for everyone, I'm going to propose that we continue with it. And when students, when I see your hand up and when you pose questions to me, I would like you to turn your camera on as well so that I can at least see who I'm talking to. So eventually, when we're out of lockdown and we're in a class setup, I'm able to put names to faces. So I want us to go to the following page and then we can start. And I want us to go to look at certain terminology quickly. And this, I want you to turn to page 10 of your study guide. So all of us go to page 10 quickly, please. And the first aspect on page 10 is presumption of death. Now, when I refer to terminology, I need you to know what I'm referring to. So, when we speak of a word called presumption, and I'm going to come back to you now in terms of that word, South African law provides, okay, if we look at the general application of law, okay, people die. And prima facie proof of death in South African law is a death certificate. But the law also provides for a presumption of death. So I want you to be clear on the following. South African law cannot declare a person dead. Proof of death in South African law is a death certificate. No one in South African law can be declared dead. Therefore, our law makes provision for a situation where an interested party can approach a court for a presumption of death order, meaning that if such an order is granted, the person is presumed to be dead. Okay? Now, a presumption means it's a statement that is regarded as true until the contrary is proved. Okay? Our next definition refers to status. Now, in terms of what status means, private law determines the legal status of a legal subject. That is a human being. So in South African law, a legal subject is regarded as a living person. Okay? So when we go to the aspect related to the nasciturus, the nasciturus is the Latin term for the unborn child. So when we go to the section that deals with the nascituras, you need to understand why the nascituras or the unborn child cannot be regarded as a legal subject. Why? Because in South African law, you are only regarded as a legal subject once you are born or once you are alive. So that is something we're going to go into extensively. We also going to deal with domicile. Now, domicile is the place for the purpose of the exercise of rights and the fulfillment of obligations. Now, it's very, very important where you find yourself, the physical place where you find yourself when a legal dispute arises. A very important aspect of South African society or the South African landscape is that many children are born in South Africa of unmarried parents. So you have the situation where a child is brought into life or where a child is born, but necessarily his or her parents are not married at the time when that child was conceived or at the time of that child's birth. Now, this situation has certain legal implications on the child as well as the parents to that child. So, this is a very, very important chapter, and it's a chapter we're going to deal with extensively. Linking to that is the aspect of minority. Now, all of you should be aware that someone or a person only attains full legal capacity when he or she turns 18 years old. That is the general rule in our law. Now, when you attain full legal capacity, this means that you are able to perform a juristic act. Write down that term, juristic act. Okay, a very, very important term in your vocabulary from now onwards. A juristic act is that act performed by a legal subject which has legal consequences. That is what a juristic act is. So in South African law, only when you attain the age of 18 years old, that is the general rule, you are able to perform juristic acts without any assistance whatsoever. And then we're going to look at the termination of minority. Okay. Are there any questions before I continue? Any hands? I see no hands. So if there's no hands, I'm going to continue. Students, with as I did with Skills for Law students and as I did with the introduction to law, my first session, I'm going to work a bit slow. So the reason for that is for you to ease into it and for us to get used to each other. You to get used to my teaching style. But next Saturday, I'm going to work a bit faster. Why? Because I'm going to assume that you are prepared and you did prior reading. One announcement as I go further. All students, please, in the chat function, add your student number for the record purposes. So if there's no other hands, I will continue. I will tell you which page in the study guide to go to. Next week, I will also expect you to have your prescribed textbook with you because we'll be working from there as well. So I am on page 14. I'm on page 14 and we are going to look at part one of our study guide, and we're going to practically look at the definition of the law of persons. And the first aspect we're going to be looking at is the aspect on, I just need to find the page, on page 15, the top of page 15, and we're going to look at the term, what is a legal subject? Okay, so all of us on page 15, we're going to look at the term legal subject. Any questions before I continue? I'm able to take two questions quickly. Any questions? I see no hands. I see no hands, and in the chat function, let me just see if there are any questions. There are no questions. There are no questions relevant to law of persons, so I'm going to continue. So all of you on page 15, what is a legal subject? Now, I started off by saying that the legal subject is me and you, the living person. So let's see what the legal definition tells us. Now, the fact that the legal subject is the center of the legal world, it means that the legal subject is that person, or the legal subject is the bearer of rights, duties, and capacities. Okay? So, meaning the legal subject can be the owner of a thing or property. And the example on page 15 tells you that the legal subject can be the owner of a farm. Now, the right of ownership is a very strong right in our law. And this is one of the rights that the legal subject bears. Okay? The bearer of rights. And an example of this right that the legal subject is the holder of is the right of ownership over a thing or property. Okay? The legal subject can also enter into contracts. Very, very simply, you and I, if we are over the age of 18, if we 18 or over, we can walk into the Vodacom outlet, we can walk into the Virgin Active gym, and we can say to them, I want to enter into a cell phone contract, or I want to enter into a gym membership. Okay, so you can enter into contracts. You are able to inherit. So I am able to draw up a valid will, and in that will, I can decide whom I want to leave my entire estate to. You are able to get married. So in South African law, a legal subject with another legal subject is able to enter into a civil marriage. You are able to enter into a customary marriage, and you are able to enter into a civil union. You have obligations or responsibilities, such as the paying of taxes, also not to commit crime. So, as a legal subject, okay, a person, you are regarded as a person in the eyes of the law. So, a person, a living person in the eyes of the law is a legal subject, and a legal subject, very, very importantly, is the bearer of rights, duties, and capacities. I went through that aspect very, very slowly. Now, you need to ask me now if there are things about this aspect you do not understand. Do I see any hands? Any questions? If there's no hands, no questions, I'm going to continue to the next aspect. So we all have clarity on what a legal subject is. Now we're going to look very, very importantly, we're going to look at the definition of the law of persons. I see Terence's hand is up. Terence, you can unmute your mic and ask me the question.
Hi, Mr. Clarence. Just a quick one. The legal subject. What if we talk about the person having rights and responsibilities and capacities? They also have obligations as well in the contract, I'm sure. What if that person is has a mental problem, or they incapacitated in a mental way? What is their obligations in that instance? Are they? I know they're still legal subjects, but surely their responsibilities or obligations are diminished in that instance.
Terence, you can unmute your mic. Terence, very, very good question. And it is an aspect in the module we are going to deal with very extensively when we deal with mental illness. But in short, you gave me the answer. In short, the person is still regarded as a legal subject, but in law, it means the person's capacity to act will now be severely limited because of that mental illness. So, for example, a person with mental illness cannot enter into a valid marriage, okay, because of that mental illness. So, what this mental illness causes is the person or the legal subject is not able to fully appreciate or understand the consequences of the juristic act he or she is entering into. Okay, so if you cannot fully understand or appreciate the consequences of the juristic act you are entering into, it means you cannot be held liable in law for the consequences which flow from it. So, hence, when we look at a mentally ill person, another example which we're going to get to is a prodigal. When we deal with prodigality, such persons, because of this restriction in their capabilities, they do not possess full legal capacity. It means it's restricted. So I hope to a certain extent that answer to you is sufficient, because we're going to deal with these aspects affecting legal capacity very, very extensively in the weeks to come.
Thank you, Mr. Clarence.
Okay, Terence, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Are there any other questions for me? I will take two more questions if there are any other questions. I see no hands up. So if there's no hands, let us continue to the definition. Is the hands of Dolly? I see the surname Dolly. Is your hand up? Alaya Dolly. Is your hand up? Okay, Alaya Dolly, if your hand is not up, I'm going to continue. So let's continue to the definition of what the law of persons is. Okay, I'm seeing no other hands up, so I'm going to continue. Now, for the law, for the law of persons, you can also go to your Heaton textbook, but in short, I want to take out the following from the definitions. So, in the law of persons, or in this module, remember, this is a branch of our private law. And our private law speaks to the legal relationship between various legal subjects, or the legal relationship, private legal relationship between various legal subjects. So, sorry, in the law of persons, we study first and foremost, very, very important. Remember, I spoke of prodigality now. I spoke of minority. I spoke of status. So, very, very importantly, in the law of persons, we study the legal subject. We study the subject which is the bearer of rights, duties, and obligations. So the primary focus of the law of persons is the study of the legal subject. And here we ask the following questions. Who is the legal subject? How does the legal subject come into being? So hence, we're going to answer this question by dealing with the aspect of birth, and very, very importantly, dealing with the aspect of the nascaturas as well as how the nascaturas fiction operates. Okay? So we're going to answer the question of how the legal subject comes into being. What is the legal position of the legal subject? Okay? And here we're going to look at the legal position of the legal subject when it comes to limiting his or her legal capacity. Hence, we're going to look at issues like minority. We're going to look at issues such as prodigality. We're going to look at issues such as presumption of death. We are going to look at issues such as mental illness. Okay? How he or she comes to an end in the eyes of the law. Okay? We're going to look at the issue of death, birth, death, presumption of death. Okay? And then also, so to put it into perspective, okay, the law of persons, the law of persons deals with the following: the different kinds of legal subjects. I've spoken about minority. I've spoken about prodigality. Okay, those are definitions you can come and explain to me next week. How the legal subject originates and comes to an end, birth and death. What legal status involves. And then lastly, effect what effect the various factors have on a person's legal status. Okay, we've gone through the definition. Are there any questions for me? At this point, students, you should be bombarding me with questions. I don't see any hands, and that's concerning to me. So it either means you know this definition, you can go write exams on it now, or you clueless on what I'm talking about. Are there any hands? Are there any comments? I would like to take about 2 or 3. Terence. Okay, I think it's only Terence asking questions. Terence, you can unmute your mic and ask me the question.
Thank you, Dr. Clowns. The under the definition of law of persons, how a legal subject originates and comes to an end, but more so under how they originate. Okay, I read up previously the other day that a person is only considered a legal subject when they are born or separated from the mother or separated from the person's given birth. So is that under common law or is that under our own South African law in terms of that? And what
Okay,
about
Terence, let me
conception?
stop you there quickly. Terence, let me stop you there quickly.
Okay.
Remember, in terms of our primary sources of law or in terms of our sources of law, okay,
Yeah.
common law is regarded as a source of law as part of South African law. So common law is good law in South Africa. So common law is part of our law.
Yeah. So
Okay, so I need you to understand that. Okay,
okay.
now
So
you can continue.
so under our common law, um, life begins at birth. Is that's correct, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
And Terence, to stop you there, that is regarded as our general application of law. Okay? So remember, to every general application of law, there can or there may be an exception to the law. Okay? And
Right.
that is why we're going to deal with the nascaturas, the rights. If there are any in certain situations, the unborn child is regarded as having rights in the law of persons or in
Okay.
South African law.
Okay.
You
That
can
that would
continue.
that will be interesting to look at further on, not right now. um, yeah, I just wanted to just mention that, bring that aspect up. So yeah,
Okay.
you've answered it for now.
O-
But I still got questions on that, but I'm sure we could cover it later.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, Terence. Are there any other questions? Here's an Emeran. Emeran, do you have a question? Okay, it seems there's no other questions. So if there's no other questions, let me continue. So we've covered a few terms, we covered terminology, okay, and we covered what the definition is of a legal subject. Let's just see the next aspect. Let me just go there quickly. Just give me a second. Okay. And now, quickly, I want us to look at the different kinds of legal subjects. And this is where I will leave you today. In South African law, we have two types of legal subjects. Students, only two students, Zambini, two types of legal subjects. The first legal subject is known as the natural person. That is you and me. And that natural person comes into being by being born. You must be born alive to be a natural person. And the second legal subject in South African law is the juristic person. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with those two aspects, and I want you to prepare the entire chapter or go familiarize yourself with the entire chapter in terms of the introduction for the law of persons, and then when we start at 9 o'clock next week, and that is we're going to work from page 21 in our study guide. Okay, we're going to work from page 21 in our study guide where we start with the beginning of legal personality. Now, are there any questions for me? Any questions before we end the session? Adele, are you there?
I'm here. Yes, Owen.
Adele, tell me quickly, until when am I online with the students? Until 10 o'clock, or do I continue further?
You can continue until 10:30, but you can stop before that. You can continue after that.
Okay, so Adele, I will continue until 10:30.
Thank you, Owen.
Okay, Adele? So students, I'm going to continue for another half an hour. So before I continue, are there any other questions for me? Before I continue, are there any other questions? I see no other hands. I see no other hands. So if there's no other hands, let's continue. I'll just tell you which page in the study guide to go to. Okay, so I want us to look at the different kinds of legal subjects. I indicated to you that we have in South African law only two types of legal subjects, the legal person as well as the juristic person. So we all know what the natural person is. It is that person that is born alive, okay, whom is the bearer of rights, duties, and obligations. Now, I want us to go look at the juristic person. Now, our law recognizes the following juristic persons, and I want you to go to the bottom paragraph of page 15. Our law recognizes, firstly, paragraph A, associations incorporated in terms of general enabling legislation. For example, banks. Okay, so when we look at banks, First National Bank, ABSA, Nedbank, Rand Merchant Bank, they are regarded as juristic persons. Why? Because they are incorporated in terms of general enabling legislation. So here we look at the Banking Act, the Companies Act, okay, legislation such as that, okay. We have associations that are created and recognized as juristic persons in terms of separate legislations. And here we're looking at universities, technicons. So an example is the University of South Africa. Okay, it's recognized in terms of separate legislation. We're looking at paragraph C, associations which comply with our common law requirements. Okay, and here we're looking at our welfare societies, examples like that. Okay. I see no hands, so if there's no hands, no questions, I'm going to continue. Okay, I'll tell you now where I'm jumping to. Now, I want you to write down the following term because I'm going to give you an example in terms of a juristic person. So, I want you to familiarize yourself with the following term, and the following term is called or known as vicarious liability. Okay, it's known as vicarious liability, and I'm going to make an example relating to a juristic person. Now, as a legal subject, okay, legal subjectivity is also conferred onto a juristic person, meaning a juristic person can be the bearer or the holder of rights, duties, and responsibilities, meaning the juristic person can also be the owner of things or the owner of property. Now, the best example I can explain to you now is when we drive or when we are in traffic or when we are on the roads. Many a times we see the red branded Toyota Corolla. It's mostly Toyotas that are on the road. The red branded Toyota Corolla with the Coca-Cola branding on there. Okay, so Coca-Cola in South African law, or the Coca-Cola company, the Coca-Cola beverage company, is regarded as a juristic person, meaning it has rights, duties, and obligations. So, let's say that the driver of the Coca-Cola vehicle is Owen Kleinans, meaning Owen Kleinans is employed by Coca-Cola or is an agent of Coca-Cola. And let's say Owen Kleinans negligently drives that Coca-Cola vehicle into your vehicle, causing damage to your property as well as your person, because now you are hospitalized for a month, you lose income, etc., etc. And if you quantify the damages, let's say because of the negligent actions of Owen whilst driving that Coca-Cola vehicle, he causes damages to your property and person in the amount of 250,000 Rand. So my question to you students is, who do you institute an action for damages against? Do you institute it against Owen, or do you institute it against Coca-Cola? I want at least 3 responses. Do I see any hands? Otherwise, I'm going to start naming people. Terence, I see your hand is up again. Do I see any other hands? Okay, guys, why is it only Terence responding? Okay, Terence, you can turn on your mic and give me a response. I also have a response from LZ, am I correct? So LZ Woodendal, Once Terence is done, I want a response from you. Terence, you can turn on your mic and give me your response.
Thank you, Dr. Clarence. I think you need to determine whether the driver was undertaking his official duties, whether he was employed by the Coca-Cola company. If it was in his carrying on the business of the Coca-Cola company during the time of the accident. If he was, I believe you can institute actions against the Coca-Cola company for his negligence. Otherwise, if that's unsuccessful, then you could also try against a personal action against the driver himself for his negligence.
Terence, thank you. I'm going to listen to LZ's response and then I will respond to your answer. So,
Sure.
thank you, Terence. Terence, you can turn off your mic. LZ, you can turn on your mic and respond.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. My response is pretty much the same as Terence. I think if the driver was doing in working hours, working for Coca-Cola at that time, then it would fall on Coca-Cola for the responsibilities and duties towards the claims, etc. However, if it was a company car and it was after hours, it could have, it could be the driver's negligence. And yeah, that's pretty much my answer.
Thank you, LZ. LZ, you may turn off your mic. I'll respond to both you and Terence now. Let me just see quickly if there's no other hands. I see LZ. Okay, LZ, there's no other hands. I'm going to ask for, I want another response. So I'm going to start naming and shaming. Is Jeremy there? Jeremy Zichelaar. Jeremy Zichelaar, turn on your mic. I want a response from you. Okay, I have in the message section, I have a response from Paris Pillay. Paris Pillay, you are saying that Coca-Cola will be liable for the damages. Paris, if that was your answer in the exams, I would have given you naught. You need to qualify that answer. Why would Coca-Cola be liable for the damages? Okay, there's no other hands. I'm going to ask for one more volunteer before I get to the responses of LZ and Terence. Let me just see if there's not another one. Alaya Dolly. Alaya Dolly, can you turn on your mic and give me a response to the question I posed now?
Hi there, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Alaya. Good morning and welcome.
Hi, Owen, can you hear me?
I can
Good
I can
morning.
hear you, Alaya.
Hi, thank you. My response with that to your question would be that Coca-Cola would be liable for the accident. Oh, okay.
Why has the lecture ended? Because I can't hear anyone. So I think the lecture is gone.
Yeah, it looks like he's missing.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's just wait for Owen to come back on. I'm checking in with him.
Thank you.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Owen's internet has disconnected and he cannot get back on. So he's asked me to conclude the class and then he'll continue next week. Are there any UNISA questions at this point in time? Not? Terence?
Can I just ask about something different? The study material. I've got it obviously online, but are we being delivered hard copy materials or not? Do you know or don't know? I'm not sure.
When did you register, Terence?
Oh, a long time ago. Sure. I actually got registered by the UNISA on the 5th of August.
Okay, that's not too long ago. No. Terence, do you know how to track your study material on my UNISA?
the hard copy, delivery of the hard copy, or?
Yes.
'Cause-
Yes.
Yeah. No, I don't actually.
I think it is under admin. Let me just see if Sibu is not online. Just hold on a minute, Terence. I'm going to come back. I want all students to know how to track their study material.
Thanks very much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just give it a minute. Richard is going to log on and quickly explain to you how to track your study material delivery on MyUnisa.
Thanks.
There are no other UNISA questions?
Hi, can
Yes.
you hear me? It's LZ
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
I just want to know, some time ago on the announcements, it was early on in the semester, I can't recall the name, somebody said that we're not going to use the reader with all the cases in due to the corona and the postage, etc. Now, I still want to know, must we learn from the study from the reader or not?
That I cannot tell you. Best advice there would be to write an email to your lecturer and find whether that is still the case. And if you can, then bring that message back to us in the next class, if possible.
Okay, yes, it's in one of the announcements earlier on, however, but I don't have I've just read it some time ago.
Okay, if you can tell us what date, there is no other, and there's no other message of that, then I think it still stands. But I would check that with the lecturer.
I will get the date from that announcement.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, for next time.
Okay,
thank you.
Richard, are you there?
Yes, Adele, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, guys, so if you want to track your study material, you can do it on the My Admin tab of MyUnisa. I'll just quickly share my screen with you. So on MyUnisa, you can just log in, then you go to My Admin, and then there's a tab actually Study Material. So you click on that one for parcel tracking. So if you're an international student, you'll have to follow the UPS link. But for domestic students, for instance, you're a college probably of law, you'll have to click on this link here at the bottom for Crossroads. So you just basically enter your student number.
Sorry, just go back a bit because there's.
Okay.
I've got at the bottom of my screen, I've got SA Post Office parcels. Open the link. Okay, so if I go open that link.
Yes. So if you, for instance, say you decided, or when you registered, you can actually select whether you want to buy courier or whether you want to buy postal office. So the default is usually it's going to go through courier. So then you don't click on the post office link. You'll usually click on the Crossroads link. Yes.
Okay.
So once you click on that one, because I don't even think they're using the post office really more. Everything is now sent by default through Crossroads.
Okay.
And Skynet. So once you put in your student number here. Then we'll actually show you if the shipment has been sent. And it's good to come and look here, because a lot of times the shipment, it's been processed already by UNISA and it's been sent to out, but then it's actually at the depot here at Skynet. So sometimes they can't find the address, or they're struggling, or the volumes are too high. Then it's actually a lot quicker just to quickly go to them and just get your parcel from them.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So it should come. It's still loading now, loading data.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So it'll come up there. It'll tell me where it is and
what's the status of it.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's so slow today. Usually it's a lot quicker.
Terence, just hold on so that we get in there, because there's also a way of reading it, because there are different terms that I want Richard to explain. So just sit tight. Oops.
Sure.
Looking if I can't find another link that will load quicker. It seems like the server is down at the moment for Skynet. But what you will see is usually there's a few a number of, how can I say, events that are happening. So the first event will be, if there's nothing listed, that means it's not sent to Skynet yet. The first one is the Weibull number that's been given. So once you know that Weibull number has been given, then it's being processed by Skynet. So then you'll see, for instance, the first one will be they processed it in the Pretoria facilities, and then the second one will be shipped to the area or the warehouse here. So as soon as you know it's the warehouse here, then you can actually start phoning the warehouse in Cape Town, and you can ask them when will it be delivered for you, basically to your home.
Okay, great. No, got it. Thanks very much.
Richard, I think the Pretoria is the entry that normally confuses people, because they think it's UNISA Pretoria, but it's not UNISA Pretoria. It's Skynet Pretoria. Right. Yes.
Pretoria, yes. As soon as it's listed here, then it's in the hands of Skynet, and it's outside of the hands of UNISA.
Okay. And if there's nothing, then it's still with UNISA.
Yes, then it's still with UNISA.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate it. Okay. Then you'll be back next week. Please make sure that you complete the attendance register and that you fill in the evaluation form that I've posted at the top.
Is it the same time next week, Adele?
Yes, 9 o'clock. And I'll send out a reminder, Terence.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Okay.